the Ammonite and the Moabite. If you go to the Bohemian Grove in America, it is 3091 miles from the North Pole, I think it is. So Solomon received 666 talents of gold per annum from his wives. So this is all the 666, and that's why when you buy something, it is swiped through a computer, and the first bar, 2 bars on the mark of the beast, and then the number, which is the value of the goods. Then there's 2 lines again, which is another 6, and then it goes for another number, which is the reordering of the product, ending at 2 lines, which is a 6. So you got 666, and they're only lines. You don't actually see the numbers, but that's what they are. So we take the base of the pyramid 36524.24, subtract the displacement factor 286.1, equals 3623814. Hebrew 2861 is a spousal male, and the 3623 is a spousal wife-to-be. The base, now smaller, rejects the capstone as it arrives in the end time, because this is talking about the end time. So the capstone arrives and is rejected because the structure now is too small. It can only go up to the one height, and it overhangs by 286.1, as it was not expected by the world's main body. And this is what Psalms 118:22 and Matthew 21:42 is all about. And these are the verses. Solomon 3:1:1. Go forth to ye daughters of Zion, and behold King Solomon with the crown wherein his mother crowned him in the day of his espousals, 2861, and the day of the gladness of his heart. So this is Solomon. It's talking about Solomon. Jeremiah 2:2. Go and cry into the ears of Jerusalem, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth, and love of thine espousals. 3623. That's the female espousals. When thou wentest after me in the wilderness, in a land that was not sown with the word of God. Now, this is not in the Eastern Orthodox Christianity Bible. The Christians of the East are the ones that Muhammad chose as the people that he would defend in all situations. They were his people. A Muslim woman could convert to become a Christian if she wanted to, and vice versa, and they would maintain their churches of the Christians, and they would fight for them in battles and so forth. So later on, the caliphs invented via the Jewish writers, because most of the Arabs at that time were illiterate, as was Muhammad, and being illiterate, they hired the scholars, which were secretly Jewish, out of Rome, and they put together the abomination of desolation, which is the Quran. In the Quran, people can get their arms chopped off, etc., 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 for stealing a handkerchief, or the feet, or all sorts of terrible things. I even seen a little boy, they laid him down on the ground and had his arm out, and they ran a 4-wheel drive over his arm. Perhaps the infringement wasn't enough to have his hand cut off. So what we have, the English version then, is from the Greek Septuagint, and Edward de Vere, who was William Shakespeare, changed the handwritten manuscript after Francis Bacon had presented it to the King James for authorization. He refused to sign it, and it took 18 months until he and de Vere read it. William Shakespeare, altering it to reflect Jesus, was an Essene and pointing to Isaiah 63, which tells us the Lord comes back and cannot find anyone worth saving. In the Orthodox Bible, it is considerably different, pointing to Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet out of the English translation, but has nothing that would suggest anything like this, or even the prophecy of it in the Orthodox Christian Bible. So in the Romeo and Juliet, it's, a man curses and he says the words Jesu Maria, which is the words put in by William Shakespeare, Edward de Vere, and tells us that Jesus was an Essene. And of course he was. Well, these were very, very clever men, these two men. And they knew exactly what the Jews were up to. And later on, King James told Charles never to become king. But Charles did become king, and he eventually was beheaded. So the Essene terms, proving the king and Edward knew the Jews were taking over the unholy book, now made holy by Shakespeare. St. Catherine's Monastery chooses Russia. Why? This man get this up here a bit. This man was aware via my books that the straw man was what it was all about, and he gave the Russian people back their money. He's a very righteous man, believes in Jesus absolutely. So the monks, if you like, because they were Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, automatically it chooses Russia today because they are, their language is written in Greek letters, and of course Vladimir Putin is a very staunch Orthodox Christian. So what we're looking at then is a move that I suggest to Vladimir, that he takes his troops and move into Poland and take over the government there, because they are my son and daughter-in-law. She is Polish, a very, very smart girl too, and they are telling me what's going on in Poland. So it would be nothing for Russia to get their tanks and stream across into Warsaw, take over the government, and place in its stead a government of Jesus. So I'll leave it there. I'll go back to the drawing, so just to remind you, I think it's that one there. There's the mathematics of it. So what you do is you take the width of the side, 9131.06, which is 36524.24 all the way around. You multiply it by itself, by 2 rather. That gives you that number there. Then you multiply it by 2. Then the square root is 1, I'll just shorten the numbers up, 12913.26. Convert to British inches, and you've got to divide that, multiply that rather, by 1.00106, because the British inch is slightly smaller than the pyramid inch, but at the time of Elizabeth I, it was the same as the pyramid inch. The pyramid inch is determined by dividing the earth. So the scholars say, I have another way of doing it, which I won't go into it now, but they say divide the earth's polar diameter by 500 million and you get your pyramid inch. It's not quite right, but that's what all the scholars think. I will reveal how it is actually found another time. So we convert to British inches, we get in inches 12926.9569, etc. Divide by 12 to make a British feet gives you 1002.246, so you've rounded off, it's 25. That's what I'm showing you in the distances here. Is we're looking at 225. So if you want to go back to the 4 number, it's at the end of the street here, and we're just rounding it off to 5 because it's so close it doesn't matter. So that's what that's all about. So via evil of my father, who was a most royal man, who married my mother, the most royal woman, but he indeed was a cruel bad man, because I had told him as a child that he was wiring this vacuum cleaner wrong. Unbelievable. And of course from that moment onward he belittled me and hated me and beat me every chance he got. because I knew. He used to say to me, "You'd argue with Christ, you would," and I say, "You are." That's how the relationship between my father and mother were, and myself were. My mother was a heartless woman. She took his abuse all those years, and of course she never defended me, and I got beat daily. So that's what it's all about.